Hello YouTube, it's Addison, Sugoi Penguin Gaming, the creators of My Liege, and it's time for the first devlog post-release. That's right, if you haven't heard yet, My Liege has released on Steam, and I was going to talk a lot about the release process, what it's actually like, all the things that you have to do on Steam, and what does a dev go through actually doing a release. And I just had too many things to say, so this devlog is actually gonna focus on just the month leading up to the release and what changes I made to the game. Talk about the actual development of it. And then those kind of bigger picture, what is it like to release a game on Steam, and lessons learned in this project, what would I do differently, those kind of things. I'm going to do a separate videos on the channel. So because otherwise I'll just sit here, ramble for 40 minutes, and be like, this is too long of a devlog. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, shameless self-plug, like I said, My Liege is available on Steam now. It looks so much better having just the add to cart button. It really brings the page together, if you ask me. I still have the demo out there. The demo is the first act of the game and completely available for you to try it out if you're unsure if the game's for you. Otherwise, add it to the cart. Maybe for yourself. Maybe you got a nephew, maybe a niece that has a birthday coming up. Maybe you want to get ahead of your Christmas shopping. Boom, My Liege. Okay, enough shameless plug. So what did I actually do in that last month leading up to the release? Let's go back to where I was last devlog. Playtesting had wrapped up. I had just gotten the Steam page all squared away with the new branding and the new logos and the new capsule art. And I was staring at this mountain of bug reports. This is the spreadsheet right here that I was using, and this is only one tab of it, and there was around 80 things to look at. And even after triaging what were true bugs, what were like cannot launch without this errors, it was still a lot. And so I just got cracking on it. I tried to tackle as much as I could, and admittedly, I took on too much. And for 10 years of software development as a career, where working with state agencies and being very risk averse, I kind of thought I would be better at being risk adverse for myself, but that wasn't the case. It's a lot easier to say, hey, yeah, I can do this, I'll just buckle down, and that's not how it works, because in many times, a lot of the errors I was finding in the last couple weeks were errors that I had just introduced. For example, there were several spots where the story felt clumsy. And I don't want clumsy story. I want it to at least seem smooth and intentional, even if it is an amateur written piece of fiction. Like, if I'm going to get one thing right, it's going to be the implementation. But what was happening is I would add something in, and then I would have issues where maybe I would go to do that matter, and something in the text was typoed. Maybe it was a name replacement like Lord Storm here. Maybe I had, instead of typing leader, I had typed ladder or something like that. And that was just causing a lot of soft locks, because in a situation like that, my code was saying, I don't know what role the ladder is with that house. I'm going to error. Which then, depending upon when it errored, might cause these buttons to break. And then you couldn't get off of this. But then if you couldn't get off of this, you had to basically close without saving, load up again, and this matter would still be there, so you couldn't advance in the game. So that's what I mean by a soft lock. You just could not advance. And so these new changes to the story and these new matters and events that I was adding to better make the story execute or gel we're actually adding risk, adding like, it doesn't sound like it should. I know how to. I made a whole game based on this logic and technology. I should be able to get this right. That's just not how it works. You make mistakes. 100%. You're going to make mistakes. And so, I spent a lot of that month verifying and cleaning up and finding as many big issues as I could. I was still documenting little things as I went because I needed to fix them eventually in my head, but I just had to stop getting distracted and say, okay, anything that stops you from completing the game or advancing, that needs to go. And what that ended up taking a look at was I had some spots in my code. For example, here, I'm going to show, this is the string replace function. So this is what, at the highest point, will go out there and actually find what the name is that's going to replace. So it can take something that says, hey, get the player's house's leader's first name. And I wrapped it in a try-catch. Now, try-catches, a lot of the devs out there are like, whoa, hey, don't do that, that's gross. But in this situation, it was the right move, because I needed to step away from having hard errors. Hard errors are great in development, where you want to have it grab you by the, like, shirt and be like, listen to me, you need to fix this. And go to be like, hey, is this the end of the world? In this case, no, it's not the end of the world. If instead of the proper name, you know, instead of Lord Storm, if it said mine at name house player ladder with title, like, sure, it's not the greatest look, but it's better than the player not being able to finish the game. So yeah, I added a try catch here to ensure that this little typo wouldn't brick you. And I did the same thing over here where when you're having a discussion where there's some back and forth, I have for every line of dialogue, and like when it comes to your turn to make a choice, there's string key names that tell you which options to show you. And I was having an issue where, like, sometimes it would show, it would brick. It would get stuck because it would say, hey, I'm looking for an option named Purple Elephant, but I'm not finding it in the list. And it would error. So I took out that error and I put in just a debug log warning, something that'll show up in the logs. And that helps me on my testing side, but it also makes sure that now, okay, sure, you might have 3 options instead of 4 in your dialogue, but you're more likely to get through that dialogue. So, long story short, I just had to focus my attention on what is most important right now, and it's having a functional game on release that feels less buggy. And everything else could come later. With that said, some things were important enough where, like, people just, especially in playtesting, were reporting some parts of the story completely lost them. I have no clue who this person is, and I'm like, oh, I never introduced them. So I cleaned things up, like introducing the Whisperhead very early and very blatantly as the shaman. But yeah, like, it was just a little eye-opening of how much time I was spending on these errors that I had introduced by trying to fix other errors. So that was surprising. I did add a couple new features. One was a way to fix a bug, but now if you're really far away, let's say you're hanging out over here, previously if you were to click this notification, it would zoom you, like you would take like a straight line to the person, and you would burrow through the world. I updated it so it kind of goes in an arc now, and you kind of settle in a little bit to help give you a little panoramic view of like the world. as you're getting close to it, you know, like, oh yes, this is where we are. And then also, like, rather than having to click here, you can just click the notification to open up. Some real quality of life things that, like, yes, weren't needed, but were coming up so consistently in the playtesting. I also went a little ambitious. You might have noticed all the meeples have eyebrows now, which previously it was just they had hair and maybe facial hair. That was it. I added eyebrows for one main reason, though, and it was so that I could have more expression in dialogue. So now when, somebody's talking, this person on the left will talk here. You know, the eyebrows are just another tool that I can use to give some emotion of what they are feeling right now. And that was a bit ambitious, I'll admit. Like, why? I just talked for like 10 minutes about like how I need to manage risk better. Why did this get a pass? Well, it got a pass because part of the debugging and verification was I started to notice, wait a minute, I'm not hearing all the dialogue lines. And I was trying to figure out, I know I recorded lines that sounded like a question. You know, stuff like that. I was like, where is this? I'm not hearing it. And so I thought I had a bug in the game. Well, it wasn't a bug on the code side. My animator controller was just busted. And so this is the animator for the meeples. So Crash Course and animator controllers, each one of these is a different animation or bundles of animations. And these lines are transitions. So Meeple upset is a looping animation of them upset, but you only transfer to it if is upset is true. So, looking at the old, this is the section that handled talking previously, and you'll notice I had 3: talking while bowing, talking with no hands, and talking with hands. That's not enough, though. Basically, I was handling normal dialogue, I was having happy dialogue, but I wasn't handling any other dialogue types. So, the voice lines for when you're upset, the voice lines for when you're asking a question, they were still the normal lines. So I was hearing the 4 or 5 normal lines for every voice profile a lot, and never hearing the upset, never hearing the question. And it was just because I had set this up a long time ago, and I thought, I don't know how many emotions I'm going to have, so I'm going to set up the 2 baseline ones, and I'll come back and do this later. Well, guess what? I never did. So this was the later, finally. So if I go up to the current one, now, if we go into play talking animation, now I have all of them covered. Normal, upset, happy, accepting, like you're approving of something, declining, you're saying no to something, bowing, and question, like they're all here now. And so when I found this issue, I was like, okay, I gotta fix this. Okay, if I fix this, I want it to be more than just voice lines. Visually, the meeple needs to do something different when they're happy or upset. And if I'm gonna make animations for each one of these, this is the perfect time to add in eyebrows, because I've been thinking about it. But I was like, no, I'll do it post-launch. But if you're doing all the animations, you might as well do the animations for eyebrows as well. Like, get in there and get it done. And so, whoops. I already got Unity open. There we go. So now, when I'm looking at this meeple, I can pull up some of these animations to show. Now when they approve of something, kind of raise the eyebrows a little bit. Oh, yes, yes. And then we've got maybe the dismissive one. Kind of furrow the brow and just a big no, like a big sweeping hand motion. When they're happy, like very bouncy, the eyebrows are even bouncing, heads leaving the body a little bit. And it helped me just have more space to work with. And it also guaranteed that for your non-facial haired meeples, there would be something on the face happening, uh, giving some amount of like emotion to what's going on. And I could go bigger with them. That is something that I'm working on balancing. Is like, is this transparent? Not transparent, but it's like it being communicated well enough to the player. Well, so that was a new feature, and actually, I made a under construction video on the channel here, showing off the code changes that I had to do and how careful I was being to manage risk there. So I added that, I made my new animations, and this was like with a week and a half ago, I was like, okay, I'm running out of time. And every day I'm finding new and new soft locks, getting a little stressed. So as these things were piling up, I had to take things that I wasn't going to get to and put them aside. So a UI rework of how the stats and jobs banners visually look. Nope, that feedback from the playtest has to be put off for later. Adding in the map. I made a rough menu of it and it looked very rough. Nope, put that off for content patch 1. The family tree menu, still my least favorite menu in the game. Needs a facelift, but I just didn't have time to get to it. Nope, content patch 1. Like, more and more stuff was getting dovetailed into these later patches, and I was feeling really bad about it until I realized that I probably should have put them aside from the get-go. I needed to just admit how much time it was going to take to debug and ensure that this was a solid product on release. And that's where we landed. So now I'm here, game's released. I've got a pre-planned bug balance patch that I intend to have out sometime next week, maybe around April 8th. We'll see. Kind of putting the finishing touches on it and testing it now. And then there's going to be a content update. Maybe not so much more story, but, updating some of those rough edges of the story and adding in some of those UI improvements. Add in the map, add in the family tree rework so that menu feels good to be in. And all these other little things that like hadn't gotten attention yet. And so that's where I completely forgot, which is kind of the theme of this video, was all this time I was trying to do marketing, which shout out to Andrew, he helped a lot with balancing how much time these marketing tasks were taking, but it just chasing down YouTubers and setting up accounts on other websites to help get the exposure out and trying to get that wishlist number to go up, even though it was a very stubborn number. Running a YouTube ad campaign, which led to more subscribers to the channel, but also led to a few more wish lists. And just more and more and more and more and more. And it's a busy time. I went on vacation once in the middle of that month. I was very glad I did, because it kind of helped me reset my brain. But yeah, if you're doing it right, I bet it's less busy. However, I'm also convinced if you're not busy leading up to the launch of a video game or any project really, and you're not hair on fire trying to give it that last layer of polish to make it look great, then I don't think you're really in it to win it or care enough about the project. And I realize I probably put a lot of creatives on blast. Everyone, do what you do best. You know your workflow, whatever. But for me, like, if I had been too lax about it, I don't think it would have told me that I wasn't passionate about it anymore. So that was, silver lining. With all that said, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Got through everything that I did in that last month. Like I said, there's gonna be some more videos about what goes like what releasing a game on Steam looks like from the back end. That'll be more informational, and then lessons learned of what would I do different. That will be very opinion based and maybe a retrospective for me, but also a looking to give tips to others. Um, yeah, look forward to that stuff. Get out there, get My Liege. Don't let your yoga nemesis own My Liege and you don't. Or maybe make sure they do. Uh, be the bigger yoga person, yoga poke, and gift I don't know. Maybe I should just cut this part. Either way, this is a weird goodbye. Adios.